Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is KarQ, and today we're going to go over 5 somewhat advanced Overwatch concepts, but make them easy for you to understand. But I'm not going to be doing it alone.
Hi, I'm Yeatle. I'm a streamer and a Wrecking Ball main. You may have seen our grapple video a little while back. Like KarQ said, these concepts are a bit abstract for a lot of newer players, but we're going to make it simple for you guys. So let's start with the first concept, which is what I call Defender's Advantage, or Objective Control. Defender's advantage, simply put, is when a team has control over the objective. This is an advantage because as a defender, you know where the attackers want to go, which in turn allows you to
prepare your defenses.
The best way to prepare your defenses is to put yourself in a position that can contest the choke, but not die for it. What's a choke point, you may ask? That's the second concept, which is simply a narrow and tight area where a team is forced to pass through. Now let's put these two concepts together. The ideal choke is typically an area with only one entry point that attacking teams must go through in order to reach the objective. As a defender, you want to fight teams as they attempt to funnel through chokes because this is when they're exposed from every angle. This natural defender's advantage is really evident when you look at it this way. Defenders only have to look at one angle for the most part, whereas attackers are faced with multiple angles when they enter the choke. So, depending on what the enemy team is running, it will affect how you choose to defend chokes. For example, if I'm playing Ana versus a Rein Zarya or Risa Hog comp, I can set up high ground specifically to look for splash nades over the shield. If the enemy is running Ball Winston, I have to be more conscious of being dove. However, some maps have more than one choke, so teams can sometimes walk right through another choke, no problem if defenders aren't set up to contest it. The way defenders stop this from happening is by scouting, the third concept of this video. If you're playing a hero that isn't an immobile healer or tank, you can scout for your team. Some examples would be D.Va, Ball, Sombra, Tracer, Pharah, the list goes on. Basically, all you need to do is walk ahead, sometimes past the choke, look at where the enemy team is going, and report that to your team. This is a heavily underused tactic in lower ranks, and we encourage you to scout and feed information to your team. Knowledge is power, and knowing where the enemy team is coming from can save someone from randomly getting picked off. For example, scouting ahead when you win a teamfight on second point King's Row can allow you to catch sneaky beavers hiding up top here. Now let's move to the fourth concept, baiting the objective. Watch this clip. My team kills 4 people. 4! But the enemy snipers were alive and won a 2v6. On defense capture point, you haven't lost until the enemy team gets all 3 ticks. In other words, if you lose a teammate, or 2, or 4, you can use the objective as a bait. It takes time for the attackers to build capture progress, so be patient and think about your options. You could A. Wait until your teammates come back for a possible 6v6, or B. Collapse on vulnerable enemies on or off the point if they lack the range or mobility to challenge back. If those aren't options, give it up, back out, and regroup. It's disadvantageous for the enemy to chase you and force 1v1s, and it's better than feeding 600 HP on point.
Now, those were the first 4 concepts. Let me set the 5th one up for you. Let's imagine a scenario where it's last fight on attack, and you're the only one who can trigger overtime. How should you do it? Well, if we use our brains, we know that actually trying to 1v6 is going to give you a quick ticket back to spawn. So the trick is to touch the objective when there's exactly 3 seconds or less, then immediately run. That's because 3 seconds before time expires is all you need to force the overtime countdown, and from there, you can bait enemies into a chase off the objective or continue to tippy-toe on and off until reinforcements arrive. This is what's known as stalling, the 5th concept. I actually have a super advanced guide on overtime and respawn timers that should pop up on the top right, and it's in the description that you should definitely watch after this. So when faced with the spawn room hero select screen, you have to ask yourself, am I trying to stall for time or am I trying to win the fight? Depending on the answer to that, you might pick a different hero for the retouch. I like to categorize potential hero switches in these cases as stallers and fraggers. Ideally, you want your team to have a balance of both if the game comes down to the final fight here. Stalling heroes typically have high mobility or high survivability, or a bit of both. Fraggers are heroes that can burst or one-shot enemies almost immediately. So let me help you out here by listing a couple of the popular stallers and fraggers in each category. Starting with the tanks, the best stalling hero to roll out on is Wrecking Ball. He's fast, he can take a lot of hits, and if the enemy doesn't focus you right away, you'll actually spin the win. Another staller would be D.Va. D.Va can matrix someone already stalling, she can also go airborne, making her hard to hit, and she has a moment of invincibility when she demechs. But if you're trying to salvage a fight, you can go for the best fragger in the tank category, Reinhardt, in which you just charge onto point with that potential one-shot. In the DPS category, the best staller is Mei. Wall yourself in a corner, ice block if they get past it, then rinse and repeat. A couple of the popular fraggers are actually Hanzo or Widow depending on the map, because a quick switch of these guys can be fantastic for immediately deleting someone. If you're not sure whether you really want to commit on a staller or fragger, you can choose one of these heroes, which I call hybrid DPS heroes who have both stalling capabilities and frag potential. That's Doomfist, Tracer, and Reaper. For supports, I wouldn't really worry about fragging, just focus on stalling for your other teammates, and the best for that job is probably Lucio or Moira since they're fast, can survive on their own, and offer good healing. You may also have the angles to switch to Baptiste for the immortality field or Ana for the quick nade. However, this is a lot more map dependent, like for example this Hanamura map, it's pretty good, but on Anubis, not so much. You have to walk way too far for this one. Now to recap, when we put these 5 concepts together, the overall point we're trying to make to help elevate your Overwatch play is to understand the idea of Defender's Advantage, where you control the objective. Everything kind of stems from that. On other maps, the idea of Defender's Advantage still holds true as long as you know the enemy has to come to you and the objective, regardless of whether you're on the attacking or defending side. So if you recently won the fight on attacking side, then the attackers here have the quote-unquote defender's advantage because they're controlling the choke points here. Now if they lose, then they switch. The defenders regain the defender's advantage because the attackers have to come to them now. Make sense? Make sure to scout ahead to figure out which choke points teams are heading towards, bait the objective if you lost some teammates to get some cheeky kills, then stall to wait for reinforcements. Now that wraps up this little mini Overwatch guide on a few advanced concepts. Thank you so much, Yeatle, for joining me and helping me out writing the script and putting this together, and I'll see you guys in the next video.